So a lot of drama ahead of tonight's big gathering on Capitol Hill. We told you about those dozen or so Democratic congressmen and women who will not be part of the event. We've got Representative Mark Walker joining us now, Republican of the beautiful state of North Carolina. Sir, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Neil. Always a pleasure.
Do you think a market backdrop like this, while the markets have been soaring since Donald Trump's election, certainly his inauguration, I do notice that a number of networks are suddenly fixated on the Dow, where they never were before. But what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's amazing that we've reached a place where you have people almost cheering with a couple of days of downturn, something that would not even be measured as significant from where we've seen the growth. And not just in the stock market, but we're closing in on 3% growth over this past year. If you measure that with a former president's first State of the Union, the GDP had dropped 2.5%. I'm going to imagine you probably won't see too much of that information on many networks today.
You know, Ronald Reagan used to famously say, Congressman, never to quote the Dow much, even though it was doing very, very well under his stewardship, stocks more than doubled. But his aide said that he was almost spooked by doing that. So he wouldn't. It served him well, I guess, at the time of the 87 crash. Stocks still finished higher. Do you think the president might regret using the Dow as a backdrop for everything he does? Because all markets have to correct.
They do, and whether he regrets it, I can't speak for the president. I would offer the same kind of caution. Make sure that we're not putting all of our emphasis or all of our eggs in one basket, but to be able to talk about the many other dozens of accomplishments that the House and the Senate has had working with this administration over the past year.
All right, sir. In the meantime, this Nunes memo is out now. We don't know whether the president just waits it out for the 5 days that he can, and then everyone gets to see it. But you have kind of stood apart from your Republican colleagues by saying that it is not a smoking gun. You went on to say if your audience or somebody is believing this is the end-all smoking gun, it is not. You said to make the case that this is the most shocking document in the history of mankind, I believe that's a little bit of hyperbole. So you don't think this is a big deal?
Oh, I do believe it's a big deal, but there's a great gulf between a big deal versus the greatest scandal in American history. I would rate maybe what happened to John F. Kennedy or the actor shooting Abraham Lincoln in the back of the head. Those were scandalous times as well.
But I guess what they're saying, sir, what they're saying is that there's enough here to make you question the wisdom of a probe into the president at all. Now, I don't think you're refuting that part, but are you thinking that Republicans are hanging their hats too much on this?
Well, I think when we use that kind of language, I think what has the potential of happening is it discredits at other times. Yes, this is a very damaging document. The players that are involved in this, it may even see prosecution in it, and it creates the question, at which point does it remove or does it move from a bias to a wrongdoing? Those questions are in play with the names, and I believe there will be prosecution that comes out of this. But to be able to put all of our concerns with this entire investigation into this one document, 3.5 pages, I would caution against that, because there are more things that have transpired that are not necessarily included in this document that I believe are damaging as well.
Now, Republicans, given the fact they have a majority on the committee, did not release the Democratic memo, and they said that that was unfair. How do you feel about that? That you think everything should be released, let it be decided ultimately, let the American people have access to this and decide for themselves, or what?
Well, sure. You know, it's interesting the Democrats didn't decide to even write a memo until this memo came about. In fact, a lot of them had refused to even read the memo. And the thing about the memo, without getting into the specificities of it, Neil, is that some of this isn't conjecture. Some of this is listing exactly what transpired, which anytime the American government, the federal government, can be more transparent to the citizens, that's a good thing. We saw that as I served on the House Oversight, having to put the Inspector General on even the lowest learner emails. It's amazing how quickly sometimes these IGs can find stuff that Democrats cannot tell you where it's been.
Do you think the president should in any way address this tonight, sir? The last president, and my records might be a little bit off track here, was Richard Nixon, who addressed the ongoing Watergate investigation. He started out his State of the Union address that year saying nothing will come of it and he will serve out the interest of the American people. 8 months later, as you know, he resigned. I'm not comparing the two at all. I hope you understand. Sure. But that the president might be compelled to say something about it tonight. If you were advising him, what would you say?
I would say I would stay away from it unless you're hitting in passing and stay consistent with your message. Say, listen, I look forward to the truth coming out, seeing how much I love this country, how much there was no interference. We're going to continue to do what's best for the American people, and then move on with all the great things that we've accomplished over this past legislative year.
Do you think the president will, on this memo, want to get it out there right away, or do nothing and it gets out there in 5 or 6 days regardless?
I think sometimes in marketing, I think the anticipation is as good as what the product could be delivered. So if I was him, I would wait, let there be more attention focused on it, because the memo is damaging. And I believe it does show some overreach involvement by some of the players that that the names have been listed before regarding this investigation.
All right, Congressman, thank you very much for taking the time.